Looking at tonight's agenda, the first item will be to approve the minutes. We'll have public comments. If anyone does call in or does speak out for public comments, we'll limit those comments to a minute. We'll go to the chair's report, director's report, old and new business, and close with public comments and adjournment. So with that said, thank you for joining and doing the minutes.
Can I ask a question, Rob, before you do the minutes?
You bet.
How can the public come on and get into the Zoom meeting? How can they participate in what we're discussing?
All the instructions are on the website. If they wish to join, they just have to click the link, and then Danielle, who's our
Oh, I didn't know that.
main person that's monitoring our meetings, will recognize the people if they raise their hand, and they can ask a question.
Didn't know that. Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
You bet, Vince. Not a problem. So the first order of business is to approve the minutes from our regular meeting on June 2nd, 2020. To do so, we look for a motion to approve the minutes, and then second, and then some discussion for any amendments. Again, I probably should have said this at the outset. Pam Green and Shane Kokaruda could not make it this evening, but we do have a quorum. So do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll move to approve the minutes.
Thank you, MP.
MP, you're misspelled. Are you okay with that?
I have a few corrections. Yeah,
Okay.
that's one of them.
So Vince, we'll take
Okay.
you as a second, that you would like to second it. So we are now in discussion on approval of the minutes, and it sounds like we've got a couple. So MP, would you walk us through? It sounds like you got a couple for us.
Yeah, they're all probably just typos, nothing major. Yes, my last name is, the last two letters of my last name are transposed in the first paragraph. Under project updates, Eagle Scout project, and West Wharf with a H, and it's Garvin Point, Garvan.
On that paragraph, manned in the second sentence should probably be two N's.
Oh yeah.
And as far as West Wharf installing a flagpole, East Wharf installing a flagpole that is lit, LIT, or lighted. Either way, I'm good with that, but
Yeah.
it's powered by solar, so comes on automatically, but that's what I saw.
Yeah. And in the budget status, I think Peggy prefers select woman, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, she does.
That's all.
Okay.
Minor things.
Appreciate the attention to detail. All good. Any other comments or questions relative to the minutes? Otherwise,
Good job,
we will-
good job, Kristen.
Yeah, good job. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Okay, if there's no other comments, we'll call it to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
I
Aye.
Okay, minutes are approved. Okay, next item on the agenda are public comments. Do we have any guests at this time that have called in or are trying to call in?
Bill Carroll is in the attendees.
Great. We can see if Bill has any comments when we come under director's reports. Okay, we'll move over to chair's comments. I did send this out to Kristen, so she has it, so she doesn't have to worry about capturing all of it, but there's a couple of additional ones. Just first of all, MP and I had a nice conversation this morning. So under new business, we would hope to have some discussion, possibly tonight if appropriate, just on as a commission, kind of a stop, start, continue, but really to frame it up. And I'll give credit to MP. If there's one thing that we need to focus on, what would that be? So should we have time tonight? We may use it for that. Just want to let you know that Peggy's been doing a nice job when she copies Scott in on resident issues or comments. She's been copying me in on it. I don't forward it to everyone, but it's more for information. I tend not to respond other than to say thank you for your feedback. But most of them will probably have a chance. Those topics will come up tonight under Scott's report. So here's the piece that I sent on that I'd like to read, because it will enter into the minutes. We've just closed out our fiscal year, and wanted to take an opportunity just for some recognition and to carry that. If it's okay with MP and Vince, I'll send this on to the first select woman. But it goes on to say, as we close our fiscal year, there are highlights for the minutes. These accomplishments are the result of the collaborative work of the entire beach and recreation team led by Scott Erskine, and to include the office staff, program employees, ground crews, summer and surf club staff. In addition, the technology department, the police department, finance department, as well as the cooperation of the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Finance, who are all critical in this year's accomplishments. Thank you to the commission members for your volunteer time, direction, and support of the Beach and Recreation Department and the town of Madison. And I just wanted to highlight a couple of things that stood out. There's probably more people to thank, and there's probably more things that Scott's team does that we don't get a chance to highlight, but I did want to make sure that this was recognized. Number one is the department operated within budget. The department held 4 dedicated sessions for public and commission discussion on the new parking system. Hard to think that was even in this past year. Canceled the parking system contract, operationalized lifeguards and gate guards, executed the beach and recreation town survey that provided guidance and direction for the commission and the department, enabled online beach pass purchases with the department's Rec Track software 6 weeks ahead of schedule, and even some better numbers that I'm going to let Scott speak to based on overall beach pass sales. Created a new beach and rec landing page. Again, that was from the survey feedback for the user experience. Operationalized standards aligned to COVID-19 state and federal guidelines, which how can you not underscore all of this being accomplished in the presence of a pandemic. Erected beach and rec ground staff building at the surf club, installed the emergency service dock at West Wharf, established and executed monthly reviews of budget, incident reports, and projects. I think the other piece is working in collaboration with the police department for additional patrol to support the beach and the beach roads, access roads. I did add some comments around opportunities. These are from my perspective, so they by no means represent the commission. But one is to continue the survey on an annual basis. MP shared and we're aligned that this has really been a great tool for the community and us. Evaluation of the program offerings and needs, just having that ongoing discussion has been positive. Create a plan to enhance assets physically and aesthetically, just understanding where do we need to focus based on how assets are being used. And then finally, prioritize project-aligned asset maintenance and strategic plan. So I think those are things that we're working on. I think there might be an area for focus, and would really, again, like to talk tonight on the new business, just from Scott's perspective, as well as Bruce, as well as the commission. If we had one thing to focus on, what would it be? So those are my comments. I thank you for the opportunity to share those at this point. We will move on to the director's report. As you recall, we give the director the opportunity to speak on, in this season, Beach Pass status update, staffing update, project updates, and incident reports, and then obviously if there's any other discussion. So the bulk of this meeting will be to hear from Scott, and then we'll use some time to have a discussion ourselves. So Scott, I will turn it over to you.
I don't have a report, no. I'm just kidding. As far as beach sales, let's start off with that. As of today, we are up over 702 passes sold over last year. And right now our revenue is $108,210, which I think the numbers are really good. We've sold 5,356 beach tags versus last year of 4,674. So we are up, people are reaching out. They've found us on the website for the online sales. And definitely the mail helped, but the mail at the beginning was very burdensome because we were getting trays of envelopes that we had to process, and we tried to get them out as fast as we can. But then when we went online, it was kind of started to get balanced between online sales and the mail. So now we're at a steady pace where people are still buying. Somebody bought the other day at midnight, they bought their pass online. So, I mean, we're available 24/7, and it's just about a matter of us monitoring and getting the physical tag out to the person after they bought. So I think it's a positive. We haven't had too many hiccups with the online sales. Some are household issues that we have to clarify, and then that's always a call in, but we're able to help them very quickly. Birth dates are wrong when they set up households, et cetera, so they're not in the right category, but we're handling those fairly quickly, and I think the public is fairly well pleased. In looking at our responses, I think it's been a good move.
Scott, can you just comment on what do you think the impact will be next year to your staff? The fact that we've got all these people already registered online, what does it mean for them, for residents? What does it mean for your team?
Well, I think now that they're in the way we're doing it, it's a membership renewal. So they'll be able to go in, and whatever they bought this past season or this season, they'll be able to renew. And we will just have to be monitoring that online. And it's pretty clear cut when we do our cash journal every day when we have World Wide Web sales, and it says pass management. So we click on that, reprint the receipt, and we know what they bought. And then we'll send out the new stickers for 2021. So I think it should be smooth. I'm hoping that it's going to be smooth, because whatever they bought this year, they can buy again next year.
It'll certainly be smoother than the mail-in.
What?
It'll certainly be smoother than having them mail in. The
Sure. Yeah, because all those mail-ins will be now able to renew online.
Right, online.
So
I have two comments and just a question. The fact that somebody could purchase the beach pass at midnight was sort of the service we were aiming to provide with the online piece. So that's a good thing. 24/7, 365, essentially. So that's the kind of thing that people were looking for in the survey and in comments we got before that. So I'm happy to hear that that part of it's working. I did wait and get my pass when we beta tested the online, and I went through all of the forgot my username, forgot my password kind of stuff, and it was really fairly smooth on the user end. And so my question is, what is your experience on the processing end? Because we did online for dog licensing, and it added, like, I don't know, 27 different steps maybe between. So are you finding that to be a smooth process getting it out?
In my opinion, yes, because we have to do a daily cash receipt report, and we have two reports. We have our general ledger summary report that shows where the money was going into the different buckets, and then we have a cash journal, which is all detail oriented, and that shows activity registration or pass management. So we print out the pass management module, and whenever it says www, those are the ones that we know that are online. We reprint that receipt from that household, and then we assign the tag number, because they've already bought their sticker,
Right.
but on our stickers, we have a tag number, which they don't have access to, and that's where we assign it. So if we were to come up to a sticker and it was on your car saying 5436,
Right.
we can go into our system and say tag number 5436, who does that belong to
Yeah.
if there's a problem?
And the back of mine is associated with my license plate.
On the back where we wrote it?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, well, that was just a note that this is the car that
That's
it's
just
supposed
to
to
keep
go
it
on.
matched up. Okay.
Right, but that on the front is the tag number,
Hmm.
and that is associated with that plate number. So,
So,
I mean, it's not cumbersome.
Yeah.
It's just, it's a step, but I think it's quick
yeah.
because we just go into the household, we enter the tag number, put it in an envelope, and it's off in the mail.
And then it's trackable to
Correct.
on your
To
on
that
your-
plate.
Oh, that's great.
So
Awesome.
I'm happy
Okay.
with it.
Good. Good.
Anything else, MP? I know you had a couple comments. Did that capture it?
That was it. Yep. Covered
Okay.
them all.
So Scott, before we move on, I just want to say, just on behalf of the commission, thank you. I think you from the outset, you believe that you could do it internally. Thank you to Art and technology because, he had a lot of things to do with the school system and he was able, as you said, this got done 6 weeks prior to when we thought it would be completed. And then obviously to Peggy, Peggy really wanted to make sure that we could do this right. And we thought we wouldn't really potentially go live fully operational as late as next year. So, under the worst case scenario. So just great job all around, good win, and congrats.
Thank you.
Scott, can I ask a question, Rob?
You absolutely may.
On the report, Scott, you have, looks like almost 1,300 turnarounds on the report you sent out?
We hadn't gotten to that yet, but
Oh, okay. All right. I thought that's what you were talking about.
no, we were just talking about past sales.
Okay. We can wait.
So Scott, we'll let you continue down the items that you want to work through here. So why don't you go ahead?
Okay, as far as staff, we are fully staffed. Lifeguards, I think, are doing a great job. David has really been training them hard, and I think they're going to be diligent and added commodity back to our beach operations. So
Mhm.
we've had some good comments and feedback from the public. So it was a good step that we brought them back.
Good.
I've been bringing them donuts on Saturday morning.
Yeah, you don't have to give them sugar.
So, one of my questions relative to an overall staff update, because there's a lot to talk about there, but from a COVID standpoint, how is the Beach and Rec department? Are you guys fully operational in the office? Are you splitting time? Is everything, how would you categorize your team?
Yeah, everybody is back full-time in town hall. We aren't open to the public, but we are all in every day. So, and then the beach staff is fully operational. Right now, we're operating outside because we had a little issue within the building that's getting taken care of, and we'll be back in to our offices fairly soon. So,
Okay. Thank you.
I'm stressing to our staff to have masks at least hung on their chin in case they come up to people that are going to be within 6 feet so they can put their masks on. We are trying to talk to the people, it's self-distancing, 6 feet with masks. If you're not, greater than 6 feet, you don't have to, but within 6 feet, you should be wearing the mask. And most people they're okay, but it's a hard thing to enforce because of the public right, and it's not a mandate. So we do have signs up at all the locations with the current rules, which again, I believe changed as of today or
3
yesterday.
o'clock. 3 o'clock today.
So, yeah, so We may be redoing those signs. They're not that expensive, but that's where we're at. I mean, it's a state of flux.
Okay. So we'll come back on a general discussion if there's other questions. So regarding, if you're okay, if there's no other questions on staffing, project updates?
I have quotes, I have contracts out for the fencing for the canoe kayak launch on Cottage Road, West Wharf emergency dock, to keep people from gaining access to the dock. I have that letted out. I have an extension on the Strongfield perimeter fencing to put it down into the marsh at the main entrance, as people were skirting around it. So I'm putting it, adding a couple lengths, and it's going to be down into the marsh, so they can't skirt that when we close it. I also have contract let out for the fencing up at Rockland Reserve by the playground, which is also going to be completed hopefully by the end of this month. And the playground itself, but the fencing should be done as well, depending upon supply. Some of the fencing contractors were out on COVID, so they're not manufacturing, so there may be a delay there. I've also requested fencing quote for Lowry Field to timber post and rail that along with the gate, so we can close that when we want to. We did close it this past weekend with snow fence and a truck and trailer, and people found a way around it, going down Longshore Lane and ducking in through the trees. So that'll be taken care of for this weekend.
So I just want to pause there for a second. So
Yep.
were they just parking on Lowry and walking in?
They parked in the parking lot, and there was no sporting events.
And then the
we had-
access road as well, they drove down and parked?
Well, they drove down Longshore Lane, and right at the left, right as you turn in, there was an opening between trees.
Oh, they drove their cars.
They drove their car in and parked.
So we'll have fencing to close that. We can't close Longshore Road, and we'll have fencing to
No.
close the parking lot.
Correct. So, but right now, Longshore Lowry parking lot is wide open. So we had to put up snow fence, and we had the truck and trailer park to close it off this weekend.
And
So we're
just from
trying to
a,
make it more manageable.
okay, so because it's a parking lot, we have the ability to gate it off and to make it, because there are a lot of issues with that on Route 1. Okay. And do you have a date on when you think that will be up by? Is that like a priority project or?
Well, I called him today, called Fence World today, and I'm waiting for him to call me back. And we'll have to meet out there and measure it and get it out, ordered up, along with his other 4 projects for me.
Do you have a personal goal, an ideal goal, if you could get it done by a certain date? I mean,
Rod, I can't guesstimate. It's all product driven. I don't know if the mills are running to supply the wood product. I know the metal fencing we had on order for Rockland, the facility closed for COVID, and that's been since fall.
Yeah, that's a fair point. We don't know what we're dealing with. Okay.
Right. Once they start opening up and get back into production, we'll get the products in. So.
Scott, can I take you back to the boat launch issue?
Yep.
When do you think that's going to be operational?
As soon as I get the fencing in, and I have to get 2 New Jersey barriers installed, but I was waiting for the fence to get installed before I put the New Jersey barriers, because their New Jersey barriers are land side of the timber post and rail. So I didn't want to impact the installation of the fence.
So it's the fencing issue that's holding it up?
Yep.
Same issue, Scott? Is it
Same issue.
material? or
Yeah,
do we have an idea?
it's a mill product. It's wood, and they have to fabricate it. So I'll try to get a more definitive date from the supplier and contractor. So
Okay. Regarding the your staff building, that looks great down at the surf club.
Yep. The steps
Doesn't look operational, or?
not yet. The front steps are getting built now. My staff is doing that. The plumber has to come in to run the gas lines. We have to get the gas tank installed, and there's a couple of few electrical hookups within the building that need to be done. We did get the meter in, so it's coming together fairly quickly now. So I'm hoping by the end of July we'll be done. And they'll be in.
So at the risk of sticking my nose where it doesn't belong, I don't know what the design looks like, but it seems like there's a side door and a front door. Are you doing a porch so you can walk from door to door, or two separate steps? Because
well, in between the maintenance garage and the new building, that's an entrance, exit, secondary exit. And that eventually, when we go to redo the garage itself, it'll be a corridor between the two buildings. So you'll be able to go from the staff building into the garage without going out into the weather.
I see, from that back, the side door.
The side door. The front step is for public access. And right now we're doing just steps. And if the need arises for ADA, we will get a lift. So somebody in a wheelchair can lift up and then roll into the building. But for right now, anybody that's coming to meet with the ground superintendent, like a sales rep or whatever, we can meet in the garage, as that's accessible. So
I like that I call out and ask, have you thought of a porch? And you're already saying, actually, we have an enclosed area, potential ramp, and we're going to connect the two buildings. So clearly you have a plan. So thank you for that update.
Thanks.
What other projects should we be aware of, or what's upcoming? What has you up at night?
I'm
Almost
getting,
Salt
well, yeah.
What, MP?
Up at night? Do I sleep? No.
That's a different story. But
Salt
the
Meadow,
yeah.
Salt Meadow, we got the septic system design approval to move forward. I'm getting quotes on that, as well as foundation, actually a slab, and construction. Right. So I have some RFPs out to get some costs, and there's some questions that they've come back to me with that I have to clarify through Cedar Forest Products. As far as the electrical, whether there's ceilings in the bathrooms or is it wide open, so we know where we're running electrical lines for lighting, etc. But
Is the kit in transit, or they're holding it? So I forget, they're holding it until we tell them to bring it, or?
I haven't bought it yet,
Okay.
because I'm trying to ascertain the cost of us building everything else to make sure we have enough funding for the entire thing.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at right now. I mean, I think I'm okay with the numbers, but I want to be sure before I commit to getting the building delivered on a trailer and have it sitting there, and then have to go back to Bruce and CIP saying we need more money in order to do it.
Okay. Any other project updates that you want to make us aware of? Or again, is there anything upcoming that we
Sure.
should be aware of?
Garvin Point Bulkhead. I'm working with Race, who did the study in 2014. They're going to be giving me a new proposal with a geotechnical survey to figure out our plan to replace the bulkhead at Garvin Point with what I'm recommending is a convex concrete wall, which will toss the water back out. Instead of, right now we're experiencing the waves coming up and over the existing wall and backwashing out between the cement and the steel sheet pile. It's not failing, it's just sea level rise comes at a high tide, waves splashing over and then backwashing. So we had to backfill behind the seawall itself. So I'm getting a cost estimate on that. That'll be going to CIP, and we'll probably be pushing the project out another year to be sure. But I had to outsource as I don't have a lot of professional technical support at the moment, because Public Works has got a ton of projects on their plate. And so I have had to outsource to like Harkin Engineering, and in this case, the people that produced the report back in 2014.
Do you think you have to bring the wall higher, or is it just going to be the same profile? Just
EMP, I don't know. I don't know that yet.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what the report's going to tell us, whether we have to raise it up
Mhm.
or not. I mean, we have the sea level rise that we have to account for.
Yeah.
Even the main seawall for the entire beach,
Mhm.
that may have to be added to and raised up, because we may have no beach
Yeah.
in several years with the sea level rise.
Yeah. And anything you do now, you want it to last as long as you can
Correct.
for the investment. Yeah.
Correct.
Okay. Scott, as I don't know if there were projects. I know there was some discussion on Rockland Preserve, potentially staffing that. I know that we were doing the playground, but anything about Rockland that's going on that we should be aware of?
We're working on some small things. We're trying to get some of the social distancing signs up there at the bike park, the pump track. And then there's some erosion issues within the park that we're going to be starting to address. And those are, as we get them, we try to do as best we can, either with an Eagle Scout to go over water issues, or trying to level out roads for service. It's mainly the service roads that I'm concerned about, for fire access, rescue, with like Dead Hill Road, Old Crooked Hill, Pool Road, if we need to. There are several just thrust roads, the road along the Dave Houston Trail, just so it's smoother and wide enough to allow for the brush truck from the fire department in North Madison, so they're not choked. So we have to we're constantly trimming back, and the committee does a great job of getting volunteers to trim back trails and remark, so people don't get lost.
Okay. Any other questions or comments relative to projects? So Scott, go ahead.
Question, Scott, about the Garvin Point. Has the Coastal Resiliency Committee gotten involved in any of those discussions?
Not as of yet. I think I got to get that report from Race, because they're going to be doing the geothermal to see what's behind the wall. What can we do for reconstruction? And I think all that we'll have to bring before that committee, saying this is what we're looking at. And he was asking for elevations, and we do have some survey marks back by the maintenance building that I think he's going to be tagging off of for the elevations. That's why if you look at the new park, the grounds building, it's up. If we get water in that building, we're in trouble all over the place. Strongfield will be underwater as well. I mean, we're up pretty high, so we just have to be cognizant of that fact, and I think that committee is going to have to be brought into it, definitely.
So Scott, relative to project updates, I know we talked about budgets as well on a quarterly basis. You and I can chat, and we'll have to figure out when is the next meeting where we take kind of a deeper dive on planning, CIP, the bigger projects, as you know, and budget. So this has been a really good update on projects. So thank you. If there's any other comments or questions on projects, otherwise, you know, we can move into incident reports, which would include, you know, I think we've had some commentary, some emails, some resident emails around beaches and parking and such. But any other comments on projects? Okay. Incident reports, Scott, what should we be aware of? Are you tracking those? I think we also are,
Yep.
we want to talk a little bit about your document that are tracking people we're turning away.
Yep,
think that would be
as
helpful.
far as incidents, we have like, right now, there's 4 written, 2 were medical first aid situations, and 1 was on the 4th, was a hostile patron at the main gate. Actually, it was actually July 3rd, because we were there early, because it was a Friday, and you know, we wanted to make sure, because it was the Friday, it was only supposed to be residents, and we did have somebody come in that had Vermont plates on and berated the staff and actually put it out on Facebook. And so that's documented. And then what was the other one? Oh, we had to rescue, but it ended up being party balloons out in the water, but David went out and got them. We thought it was a rescue, and everybody reacted the way they were supposed to as far as the lifeguard staff, and it was handled, but he rescued the balloons. So on a lighter note, he got them, but they were in the swim area and you couldn't really tell. So he called the rescue and went out, and it was a good practice drill.
You'd rather have it that way than the other way
Yes.
around.
Right.
So
Correct. Yep.
Yeah. That's good.
But those are the only things that have been really written up and documented. We've had, you know, some staff public interaction, but nothing that mounted to anything. It was just clarification and what have you.
Okay. When the staff are berated or there's some type of incident, what is their direction to what action to take?
We document it and it's filed. And once I get it, if there's follow-up, I think the person had put something up on Facebook and then got berated by other people and took it down from the Facebook page.
But do we tell them to de-escalate if someone is agitated,
Yes.
just to say, and
Yep.
then,
Yeah,
and then
we-
ask them to call the
We
police?
do suck it up. They take it. You know, we get back to, they wanted the kids at the gate and here we go. You know, they don't necessarily, they want them there, but they don't necessarily, not everybody. I can't say it's the majority. A lot of them appreciate the staff being there, but there are some that, okay, why are you doing this? And we're just trying to establish the rules and that we have, and they're doing their job. I
Right,
mean,
sure.
been asked to do. So
They generally work in pairs, right? We're not
yes.
leaving one
Typically,
person out there by
typically
themselves.
we have 2 west. We've gone to 1, but if they need backup, it's right at the surf club and they'll come
Yeah.
down. So
Do
Yeah,
they
I've
have a
seen
protocol,
one.
Scott,
Go
sorry.
ahead, Vince.
I was just gonna say, is there there was a police car down there for a while, just stationary. That was,
the police department has been very good. They've established just shore patrol.
yeah,
So we have a motorcycle policeman or officer, I should say, just in case. And then I believe there's 2 cars that do the shore route. all the way from Webster Point, Liberty Street, and they do that entire stretch all the way through Middle Beach West, and down through the surf club.
Is there any advantage to leaving a police car there in the parking lot, you know, on the left-hand side?
They really can't just be stationary for a long period of time.
Yeah,
I mean, they want to be mobile. We do have the motorcycle officer in the surf club for quite a time. You know, he's there, and they try to move around, but they're trying to deal with the state closing. And when they close, it has the impact on all the side streets.
Yeah.
So they have to be over there as well. So I just learned today that with the state operation, what they were doing was closing, and then the staff was, sorry.
you still got that dog, huh?
Yeah, well, that's one of them. They were reopening. Brett, stop it. They were reopening the park, and I guess the Deep had a meeting, and once the park, from my understanding, what I got from one of the Madison officers, once they close, they're closed. They are not going to reopen for the day. So
Yeah.
whenever they close, if it's 11 o'clock in the morning, they're closed for the day. They're not going to open back up.
Okay, I don't mean to belabor the point. I guess what I was suggesting perhaps is to leave an empty police car there. Just, you know, just so they have some sense that there is some, you know, higher authority that might step in if there is a major issue. Just a suggestion.
That would be something that maybe Bruce could bring to Peggy for the police.
I don't know. Bruce,
I don't know.
Is
I
that
don't know
a
if we have.
worthwhile idea, Bruce?
I don't know if we have spare. I don't know if they have spare vehicles or not.
Yeah, I'm
If
not
that-
sure what our spare vehicle situation is.
Yeah.
I think probably Jack would be open to anything he thought was going to be a productive help. So certainly we can bring it up.
So Vince, has there been an issue? Is that the reason you're asking for it, or is it just general support for the kids that are at the booth?
I'm just general support for the kids that are there as a backup, you know, just general support for them.
Mm-hmm.
Just to, you know, so they have, I don't know, just psychologically, somebody coming down there and giving somebody a hard time.
Well, Vince, they do have radios that reach back to the surf club. So the police can be called.
Yeah,
You know, I mean, we try to, as far as the patrol goes, they try to go to each beach on a routine basis. So it's not just the gate attendants there. We do go in and check on how things are going and take a breather at each location to try to manage people.
So Vince, a couple things here, and I'm going to ask Scott to answer the question. So Vince, it's a great question because under usual circumstances, we would say things get really slow right now in July and August. But given COVID and what's happening with Hammonasset, it is a different time. So Scott, given that this is live and given that this is recorded, maybe you could speak to the capacity of the parking lots between East Wharf, West Wharf, and the Surf Club. That's number one. Number two is, what are we doing to reduce, overcrowding, which would relative to parking spaces? What is HAMO doing? Because my understanding is that they might be more restrictive than we are.
In my discussions with Peggy over the weekend, they were at 2,000 spots out of 6,000, and we are probably about 250, I would say.
At the surf
spots
club?
at the surf club. So we have not reduced any of the spaces at East or West because they're so small. I mean, we would be, if we were going to 50% at West Wharf, we'd have 11 cars in the parking lot,
Mhm.
and then 30 cars at East Wharf.
Okay.
But
So-
we haven't done anything to address any reduction in the parking capacity at east or west.
So you have your staff at the gates tracking the number of turnaways. So I'm looking
Yep.
at Surf Club, and you've got it by day. And then on the east gate, you're turning away. It was looking like on average in the 120s, 130s with some highs around 215, 180. You had 197 on 628. You've been turning away since late June, about 100. Is that how I should read it? 100 a day?
What I had was, as far as the turnaways, out of all the days, we've turned away the average of 80 cars with a high of 230 on 620
Mhm.
and a low of 15 on 627.
The turnaways include people who
Any,
don't have a pass or
Pat?
the lot's full, both of
correct,
those.
correct,
Okay.
both.
They're not separated out.
No. No,
Oh, I see. I'm
So-
sorry. I was looking at
so
the
my-
total parking, and you have I see the turnaways is the last column. Okay.
yeah.
So Scott, my question was, in my email to you, is it possible to move those signs to US 1
No,
before they make the turn to the golf course? So we
No.
say, okay,
it's not possible because I mean, Jack put it where he could. That was conducive to the country club and people turning in. We are going to be getting barricades. So if we do close Surf Club Road, we'll be moving a person, one of the patrol, out to the end of Surf Club Road, and we'll have barricade there saying that the parking lot's full, so they won't be turning down Surf Club Road.
Surf Club Road, yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
And West Wharf, if they go straight, if it's closed, they're gonna have to go left on Middle Beach West.
Okay, while we're on the subject, can I also, in that email that I sent, can we move back the gate, the guard gate on West Wharf to the entrance of the Madison Beach Hotel? So
No, we can't.
let me just finish. Those cars parked on the left and the right side,
Mhm.
just park there and walk into the beach and cause a overcrowding situation.
Which is a 2-hour maximum
Right,
parking limit.
And those are town spots,
Correct.
right. Those are town
those are
spots,
it's
not
municipal
not
park.
beach spots. Yes.
Correct.
right. So you can
No.
just park there and walk into the beach. You don't need to show a beach pass. There's 20 spots there.
Correct.
I already talked to the gate guard there and, it was well,
It's not our, Vince, it's not our property as
So we
far as
can't
the
do it.
beach lot to move it back.
So the police would have to sit there and say the 2-hour limit has been reached and therefore issue a citation.
Ticket. Correct.
Okay.
which doesn't happen. I'm just saying that that's a situation. You've got 20 spots, roughly 2 people. You've got 40, 50 more people coming into the beach than is monitored at West Gate, West Wharf, West Beach. That's all I'm saying.
Mhm.
You're monitoring the people coming in, parking in West Wharf. But you're not monitoring the number of people that are parking and coming out and walking into the beach.
But that's the same situation at the surf club. If you walk into the surf club, then
Well, you
you're
gotta
not
come pretty, you gotta come
being
pretty far.
monitored
Yeah, I know
by
that.
our gate staff.
I understand.
Yeah.
Mary. But you've got to park, where are you going to park? You can either park at
So
the old dock.
Vince has a fair point. We have received several comments around this situation. We are making efforts to restrict surf club parking for overcrowding. MP brings up a really valid point, which is walk-ins are completely allowed. And I think that's important for people to understand. I think, Vince, your point is valid because if there are 20 spots and someone decides to say, I can park there for the day, and I've noticed that on the east side of West Wharf, it is packed. It's never been so crowded.
Right.
And I'm just curious if we need to address this, or do we need to just watch it? As opposed to say it's not our job, do we need to alert Jack that it's a crowd issue? Is it, I mean, do we need to do anything here is my question to the group. Or maybe Bruce, you could give us some counsel as, you know, a selectman.
I think it is worth bringing up. And Scott, I've missed the last two long-term committee meetings on Wednesday. Have you been in those?
Yes.
So I'm wondering if the empty car conversation can't come up in the meeting tomorrow, and also bringing up awareness around the 2-hour parking and maybe an increased vigilance in enforcing that 2-hour parking. I mean, it is what it is. Walk-ins, we can't dig a moat around our beaches and around the parking around our beaches. So I think there is a practical limit to what we can do. But if we have time-limited parking spaces, you know, maybe we should be paying attention to those. And, you know, to Vince's suggestion, I don't know if it's a good idea to park an empty cruiser. You know, I see it done in other places, so I understand where Vince is coming up with it, but it's worth bringing up and saying, hey, is this something you can do to help out? The idea is that around town in all of our venues, we're managing density. And so I think that we need to be discussing not only the density strategies for the properties that Beach and Rec is managing, but the surrounding properties that are going to be used to get around this, right? Salt Meadow Park becomes the overflow parking for Hammonasset, and you know, this weekend it was a steady stream of people with beach chairs walking down Route 1 from Salt Meadow Park.
You gotta give them a little credit. That's a long walk.
That's commitment.
On a hot day, it's a long way till you get to the beach from there.
Well over a mile.
Yeah,
Mhm.
wow.
And I would be willing to bet there are a few people with muddy legs that thought they could walk down the end of the runway and through the marsh.
Yes,
Mhm.
That's happened.
there
yeah.
were.
Yeah.
Probably in the bigger picture, it's better that people are parking in our lots and not merchant lots. So I understand keeping our lots open and not choking off the Clam Castle and Lenny and Joe's and Cohen Bagels and those private properties. But there, Vince, the state was letting those people walk in. They were not making any effort to turn those walk-in people away, even after they'd reached capacity.
So I think a good point was made. Again, last summer, those spots were there. They were not even used. Maybe
No.
you'd get restaurant guests, maybe you had employees, but it didn't feel like they were full. Now what we're seeing is a very crowded beach. And Bruce, I like your point that what we're trying to do is manage density. You know, even if they are allowed to park there, the beaches are getting crowded. And if there's a 2-hour limit, there's probably a reason for that. So maybe we need to discuss how might we partner with Chief Drum and supporting monitoring that. So Scott, is that something you'll be attending that meeting tomorrow?
Yeah, I'm on long-term recovery. Yeah.
Okay.
And yeah, as am I, and so we'll make a point. Between the two of us, we'll manage to bring it up.
Okay. Great.
Thank you.
Anything else relative to incidents or the beach?
I just have one minor point on the beach, on the lifeguards.
Mhm.
Well, I sent a letter, as I mentioned to Scott, I took my family down there Sunday, and my grandkids just, you know, communicated with them. They were great. They were very professional. They did a great job. I think they should be, you know, complimented on what they do. It was very, very professional. I felt, and a lot of folks made the comment that they felt much more secure this year than they ever have. My point, I wonder if we could get an umbrella for the lifeguards. I said I would bring it up at the meeting.
They have them.
You have them?
Yes.
Okay. And there's one other small point. I know they have megaphones now. Maybe we can get them new whistles.
They did get.
Missiles that they had didn't work.
Yeah, they were starting to get them, yes.
Okay, all right, 2 points. So they do have umbrellas. They will be getting them?
We have umbrellas.
They weren't up on Sunday. I mean, did they?
That's it. That's it. That's purely their choice, whether
Oh,
they
it
want
is?
to be.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Okay, fair enough.
Good. Thank you, Vince.
Great job. That's the point I want to make.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I would echo that as well. I think, you were able to get additional staffing, Scott. There was additional budget. You worked with Peggy on that. It should be the best summer job in town, that we hire, as many local individuals as we can, and that they provide a great experience for our residents and guests. So thank you for leading that. So Scott, thank you for all these updates. Very helpful and informative for all of us, as well as anyone else who's listening. So we're going to move into old business, if that's okay with everyone. We may have a couple items. The only one I personally wanted to follow up on was a very minor one. We did have it's a significant request, but Scott, we had a resident that requested the ability to put a life ring down in the event that the lifeguards weren't there. And I understand there's issues of vandalism and liability. Did you ever get any
We have
final
not.
conclusion?
We haven't received word back from council yet.
Okay. Yeah, just to bring everyone up to speed, our ability to provide life support, I guess, or life rescue support without a trained person to use it, there may be limitations in our ability to do that. So we're looking at that based on a resident suggestion. So thank you for that, Scott, and we'll await that update. Any other old business that's out there that we need to address?
Not that I can recall.
Okay. So moving on to new business, we would be entertaining a motion to discuss topics. We don't have any new business items. So is there a motion to discuss any new business topics?
Yeah, can I just bring up an issue again? This may be an old business, maybe new business, but I was down at Gavin Point and I tried to make I know I brought this up before. The telephone service at that point is just lacking, I think. And I know we have walkie-talkies, and I know we have other communication down there, but after 5 or 6 o'clock at night, if somebody's down there, it's very, very difficult to get a signal. I mean, at any point, to get a signal at that point. And I just want to find out. I think Scott was working on that when we had those handheld things, in terms of getting better communication availability down there. Does anybody else?
I've kind of made that a pet project, and I've brought up a technology solution to Peggy and to Art, and trying to get some traction in the conversation, and probably we'll be looking to move that more through the EDC, because there's a technology and an economic development component to it. But yeah, I think we recognize that there's a bit of a dark spot.
Great.
That doesn't serve.
I have available light towers, Bruce.
So yeah, and so I've been in touch with a company that's got a technology that could plug in and provide us with, and I'll use the word in quotes, 5G quality service, but not 5G. It would be a high capacity, high bandwidth Wi-Fi product. So every phone that has Wi-Fi capability on it would be instantly compatible with this. And
That would be great.
Yeah,
I'm looking
great.
at that specifically for the Surf Club area, but also for the downtown commercial district as well, if not even a greater deployment through town. So working on setting up the presentations from the company with the right commissions, probably EDC will be where that takes the lead on that.
Great. Thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So Bruce, we'll put you down as the owner for cell service at Gavin Point.
Garvin.
Gavin. Sorry. thinking Matt Gavin, a guy I work with, my bad. Okay. Any other new business?
The only thing that I'd like to bring up, you mentioned CIP, and this is something that has been with a giant to be determined in the CIP, and that is the next iteration of the Surf Club. And you mentioned, I think in your earlier comments about, maybe what is something you should be focusing on. And I think the Surf Club facility itself is needs to be fairly high on the list of projects that we're evaluating on a capital basis.
We've discussed that with Peggy, and it's going to be a topic at the BOS with the Collier's report that we have to try to get some forward momentum on it.
Yeah. And so, as a commission, thinking about what it is you would want that facility to be, it's probably a discussion bigger than just the commission. But I see lots and lots of opportunity, and I see lots and lots of 12 months of the year opportunity, frankly. So,
If it's okay for us to have an informal discussion on a new business, I had suggested at the outset, could we capture one area of focus that each of us thinks we should consider? Would the group be open to maybe just picking that one thing and just we'll capture it? We have two other commission members. Is that something that maybe we won't go in discussion and planning or ideation of it, but just what is that area? Is there any interest in that?
Yeah,
You mean
we'll have to revisit it again with Pam and Shane.
Absolutely. Yes.
At our next meeting, but just to get, Vince's ideas on top of his head, what's the one thing to work on going forward?
You good with that, Vince? If we use some time to have that? Okay.
Yeah.
So, I'll capture it, Bruce, and we'll give you, you have more than one if you'd like. We'll capture that, the Surf Club, the building, as something that we should have some focus as a commission on. MP, would you like to share? Is there one item that you think we would benefit from focusing on?
Well, I think, like we talked about earlier, revisiting the survey and making it truly an annual survey like we promised last year would be very helpful to give us the ideas to work on that we could really wrap our hands around, like we did with the splash page and the stickers and a couple of other things programming wise. So I think we should make a commitment to bringing that back. I think, did we run it in December last year? I think December.
I think we did. Didn't we wait to get through the election and then we ran it in December for a couple months?
I think that would, to make it a December thing, send it out and then January, assess the results and give us some projects out of it,
Excellent. Thank you, MP. Vince, what shows up for you when you think if you had to pick one thing that we should focus on?
I just would echo what Bruce said. I think the Surf Club, I don't have any, I think the Surf Club is something we really should focus in on.
Okay. Scott, from your perspective, you have a very broad lens, look, to ask the commission from a commission lens, what is it that we should be focusing on, or you'd like to see us focus on?
Surf Club building is definitely important. We have to decide what we can actually do at the Surf Club, because we do have limited space, and with the sea level rise, we have to be cognizant of that. Because anything we do with the Surf Club building, in its existing content, would have to be raised. We would have to put it up on stilts. and everything else. And then we wanted to look, as the small committee, we were looking, okay, do we do that? Or do we look at Garvin Point and create a year-round building out there that could host maybe our proms or what have you for the town, so the high school, so they don't go to Wallingford to get that done. And it would be a great rental venue out there, and then create another area where the surf club building is now, extend the picnic area back down that way.
So
And-
swap one for the other essentially. Yeah,
correct.
because there's more space that way.
And we were looking at that, and then it just kind of stopped because of study money of what it was going to end up costing. And I do have those costs, so.
So those are great insights. Scott has amazing draft drawings if you haven't seen them,
Yeah.
but maybe as an agenda item, we should just kind of have the quote unquote dream session of, what is possible and what are the considerations. So Scott, you've given us some of that, right? What are the considerations,
Yes.
what's possible? But I'm going to come back to you. What's the one area we should focus on? What would you like us to focus on?
As far as the commission goes,
Mm-hmm.
that's a hard question.
Not
I
expanding.
mean,
the
I
commission?
appreciate all the support that I've been getting with all the changes. And with your backing, it really helps. We're not an island, and I think the staff is feeling that we do have some backing now. And I certainly appreciate that. And going forward, I welcome the ideas, and if we can move the town forward with things, that's great. It's fresh minds and different ways of looking at it, and I appreciate everything that you guys are doing.
Well, I'll put you down for continued support. If that's what you want us to focus on to help you guys, we can do that. Bruce, I will come back to you. You mentioned the surf club building. I don't know from your perspective as, the selectmen's, this is your sponsor commission. Is there anything else you think we should focus on? If you had one thing?
Well, so my second of one thing is the community center. This has taken a little bit of a backseat to everything that's going on, but we've got this maturing conversation around community meeting spaces and how to best fill them. One of the things that occurred to me this winter as we were discussing the Island Avenue property is, given our time horizon on renovations to Academy, and that is assuming a successful referendum, do we have the opportunity to provide the community space in a shorter timeline via the Island Avenue property? As a community center, it might not be quite as front and center as Academy, but it could be a ready-made space for some of the programming needs that Scott and his team need, and in response to community demand. So I think the bigger conversation is what is a community center in Madison? What does it look like? And is there a way to deliver those services sooner rather than later?
Thank you, Bruce. So this is building a great list, and I love that this is live, and I love that it's recorded, and I hope that the community has a chance to hear some of the considerations. I mean, there's such a tactical component every day to the Beach and Recreation Department, and then there's a commission of 5 that are considering some big things. I would like captured in the minutes. I have 3 things that I would hope to focus on. One is project management, prioritization, and just, I think we're doing that, Scott. And I think you've done a good job to make us aware on a monthly basis, becoming part of CIP in the sense of understanding what you're going through and how do we align that and to the bigger long-term planning of the town. So how does that show up? Number two is just overall communication. MP, you called out a great win for us. We wouldn't have made the changes that we made this year if we didn't do the survey. So keeping that alive ties to communication. And the third is plan for expansion. We had a meeting where, we talked a little about Academy and what the considerations were, and it was premature. And it's not about Academy, it's about programming. So from my mind, it's a matter of, what happens if there's a new surf club and there's the ability to rent it out? What happens if there's a new academy? We have to focus and let Scott focus on the day-to-day, but I would say, project prioritization, how we communicate what accomplishments are made and what we're hearing from the community. And then somehow, some way, how do we plan as a commission that there will be expansion, not necessarily of the commission, but there's going to be expansion if we do deliver on some of the things. So we'll capture this, we'll get Pam's feedback, we'll get Shane's feedback. We have the survey, and we can't do it all. We're gonna have to pick a couple things here and support Scott and his department. But thank you for having this discussion. I think these are some big strokes that will need finer points. Okay. If there's no other new business, I don't know that anyone has joined us from public comments. I don't know if Olivia can check and see if anyone is there raising their hand or wants to make any comments. I don't see.
Danielle, anybody?
Danielle, sorry, I said Olivia, my apologies.
It's okay. Bill Carroll is here, but he hasn't raised his hand or anything. I can allow him to talk and see if he has anything or.
Sure, Bill, if you're out there, Danielle is going to take you off mute. Let us know if we can hear you, if you have any comments.
No comment.
All right, Bill, good to hear
Hey,
your
Bill,
voice.
you're live. Well, you were live.
So great. Thank you, sir, and thank you for all your work at Salt Meadow. If there's no other public comments, I will say thank you all for a very productive meeting, very informative, and we have a couple things to focus on. MP, thank you so much for the call today, and Vince, thank you for being really diligent on the items that I know that you represent, so thank you. And again, Scott, I think it's been a very successful year, so thank you to you and your staff. Bruce, thank you. At this point, we'll call a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Thank you,
Second.
MP. Is there a second?
I second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Awesome. Guys, good to see you. Stay healthy and safe. Thanks for
Thanks.
everything you